Like right now?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just talking.
No, but like you said, no one can hear it right now.
Yeah, like I can got all this out. Like everything's recording. Like the camera's on. This is recording.
Ready for your first sip?
I got the orange. Orange is just orange.
Does it taste like that hand cleaner?
Try it.
Did you get your goodies?
Is it tasty?
Is that your start?
Yeah, we started. Yeah.
So like,
So who are you, man?
I'm Dustin.
Yeah.
Dustin Kehler.
Sweet. Do you like that Celsius so far?
Like, I mean, like my first sip. I think I like my kiwi guava better than your orange.
Better than the orange, yeah, I agree. Yeah, man. So, Dustin Kehler. Am I allowed to use your last name, or do you
That's
prefer
fine.
like a? Do you have a performance name that you go by?
Performance name.
DK Drift King.
Drift King. Well, like Donkey Kong. Right? That's better.
I'm like the Diddy Kong to your Donkey Kong.
Yeah, I think. Right.
Sweet. How do we know each other?
I see. That's what I'm trying to remember. It's like we had to met at age 2, right? When we worked construction.
I think originally it was kind of like when Facebook was starting, and then you're quite a bit older than me, and I think you sent me a Facebook message. What? And you were trying to get me to come over and a bunch of different. I'm just messing with you.
I was like, what? I told you I had a bad memory, but and I'm gullible enough that I'm like, okay, I guess
yeah, it was something like, hey, how old are you?
Backwards. He's ready to talk.
Well, yours was backwards, so I had to go backwards. You like my tight shirt today?
Yeah, I know mine's tight too, dude.
Yeah, it's nice. Kind of matching.
I should have gone the extra large, actually. What size is yours?
I think this is a rip-away tag, so it might not be here. No, it's not here.
Oh.
Got this in Nashville. Oh, is it?
Nashville?
Can you see it? Does it say a size on it?
Oh, it's large.
Oh, should have gone XL
man.
as well.
Yeah.
A couple big fellas in here today. Yeah, so I'm sitting here with Dustin Kehler. We used to work together at H2 Construction.
Yep.
And that's where I first met you. You had worked there, I believe, and then you left. And then I started working there as a little guy, just out of high school.
Yeah.
And then you came back.
Oh, so you... Okay. Yeah, I was trying to remember how that worked. Okay, what was your first job? Like, what was your first house that we built?
So I was working on those like side-by-sides in Winkler. That was the first thing.
Okay, like on Partridge, like,
Yeah.
or what's that, Partridge?
Yeah, pear tree.
Okay.
Yeah, right as you come into Winkler there.
Right.
So I was doing that. And then I'm trying to think of, do you remember when you came back? Because you were working there before I had
Yeah,
done that,
I
right?
took like a year and a half off.
What were you doing
I went to like a foundations course, like a police foundations course, trying to pursue the law enforcement career. So I quit with H2, and I did this like a course. It's like a accelerated 2-year program, and then when I graduated, surprisingly, I didn't get a job in law enforcement. So then I came back to H2.
And so you came back. And then how long did you work there when you came back?
I feel like I was there. Well, I was there until we moved to like Calgary.
That's right, because you guys went west, right?
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, and I don't remember the timeline well. Like the memory's all foggy.
Was it since the accident? We should talk about that. We
Dude,
should start there.
Actually, I totally forgot about that accident.
So first of all,
I saw pictures actually, like
of that accident.
Yeah, on Instagram.
Dang,
of like the
yeah.
green truck.
Really?
Yeah.
That was wild. Yeah. So when I started working there, eventually Dustin came back, and I was warned about you. I was kind of scared.
You were
they're
warned.
like, just be ready for Dustin. He's wild
Right.
when he comes back. He's gonna say some stuff or whatever. And I was young, and I just tried to keep my mouth shut and just do my best. I was an idiot.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll just work hard. I don't know how to do this. So I thought.
Right.
Probably doing nothing. But and then you came back. And I remember one of the first few times we'd ever like interacted was that I remember. Maybe you remember differently. I was on a ladder and it was like 2 stories up.
Okay.
And we were doing siding around a window.
Okay.
And you came, it was lunchtime, and you're like, it's lunchtime. And then you came ripping up the ladder, and I was already scared at the top of this ladder. And you came ripping up this ladder behind me, like 2 stories out, and just started shaking the shit out of it.
Did I do earthquake check? Did I say
yeah.
yes? Okay.
Yeah. You were just yelling. Yeah. And I was like, holding on for dear life. Like, is this guy going to stop?
Yeah, I was ruthless with you. I remember.
Yeah, it was good, though. Like, I enjoyed it. Yeah. I never had, like, a brother growing up.
Okay.
Or, like, it was just older sisters.
Yeah.
So it was mostly getting dressed up. So then it was kind of nice to have someone that, like...
That didn't dress you?
Well, you did that, too.
What? What did I...
Yeah, dude, you should see the stuff he made me wear. This is going south, eh? No, so it was nice because it was like you could get all your angst out at work.
Angst?
Yeah.
I had lots of angst?
No, I had angst.
Oh, you had angst. Okay.
So it was like you would do crazy shit, which made my crazy shit seem less crazy.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was like could go back and forth. Like I distinctly remember you trying to push me out a 2nd-story window.
Yeah, I remember this. You were sweeping. And I don't know why I was in there because I wouldn't need to be there.
No, I had a stapler.
Oh,
and you said if you shoot me with that stapler, I'm going to kick the shit out of you.
Right.
And so I shot you with the stapler.
So was I sweeping? And then you were shooting with
I
the
think
stapler?
I was shooting with the stapler, yeah.
Okay.
And you were sweeping. And then you were going to push me out of the window.
100%. I remember we were so far out of the window.
I was 3/4 of the way out of a 2nd-story window.
You're screaming my name like, no. And you're holding on to the jack of like, the window.
Yeah.
And I'm like we were... Yeah, and like you said, it was 2 stories.
I don't know who stopped you. Someone stopped you.
I think I just finally like clicked in, like I'm gonna murder this guy for no reason.
Yeah,
I should probably not push him through a window.
Dude, that was wild.
Yeah,
I was like, I was terrified, but it was also a good time.
Yeah.
I also remember being choked out on the driveway at the end of like a day.
Yeah, we were on a concrete pad, and I don't know what we were doing again, but one of us wasn't working, and then I came to like...
Yeah, it was like the end of the day, and I think I had told you at some point that you couldn't choke me out.
Right, yeah.
And then I just shut the trailer door, like cleaned up some tools or whatever. I was just kind of like walking, and then you just jumped behind me and choked me out, which wasn't really fair, but that's okay.
No, and then I remember how I did it. Like I grabbed you by the neck, and then I like twisted my body so that we'd be back to back essentially.
That was wild.
I remember I dropped you and you just crumbled. I was like, oh shit, he's actually out. And I kind of had to wake you up a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, can I say that? Can I say the swear word?
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can say whatever you want.
I don't know the maturity rating of this.
No, I put it under explicit always.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you can say absolutely anything.
Oh, so you get to choose your rating?
Yeah. So when you upload it, you get to choose if it's explicit or not. So I always just choose explicit. I don't know if they're all explicit, but
right.
I also kind of like choosing explicit. It makes me feel cool.
Right.
Like just badass.
Like that label on a CD was like parental guidance or no parental advisory explicit content, right? Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. Like rated R.
Yeah. Yeah. But rated R seemed weird. Yeah. Choked you out.
I remember that. I also remember you punching me in the face outside of Mongo's and your wife getting pissed off.
And then we had to go buy you like a
dude, you decked me so hard though.
Because I remember like all supper we were kind of like amped up.
Before, when you picked me up from the house, I looked at like you were in a van, and the sliding door was open on the van, like it was like a Dodge Caravan.
Were we late for something?
No. And I was like, this is weird that I don't see Dustin. And then next thing I know, boom. This guy jumped
in the van?
Before I got in the van. You were outside of the van waiting for me to come out the door.
What?
Yeah, and you jumped me, and I was like, "What the hell?" We hopped in the van, and then I said, because you did that, I was going to get you back. And then outside of Mongo's, that was when I was going to get you back.
Right.
And then we were going to throw down, and you
you
cracked me in the fucking face, and I had a headache the rest of the night, which it was kind of sucked too, because I was I knew what I was getting into a little bit. And then the other people who were with us were like, we should get him some Advil or Tylenol and whatever. And I was like, no, I look like a bitch.
Yeah, because we went to that superstore on like Keniston.
Yeah.
And then we got
to just go get me Tylenol.
Yeah. Well, I
sucked.
I think like I'm inherently a jackass, but I do have like some feelings, so I felt bad.
Did you?
Yeah, I felt bad.
You didn't show it.
Well, I mean, I did it by action, by like going to get you a vitamin or whatever you needed.
A vitamin? He's coming these Flintstone
Flintstones.
These should take care of it.
The Dino or whatever, like the...
Yeah.
Dino? Yeah, Dino.
Yeah, to chew them. Is that still a thing?
I don't know.
I like the gummy ones.
Gummy ones?
My sister's kids, they have the gummy ones. Oh, yeah. Like Finding Nemo or something. Oh, I could dummy that whole thing.
Like, what's in there, do you know?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Tastes good, though. So if anybody's wondering why I am the way I am, childhood trauma.
Okay.
From you.
Oh, from me? But childhood?
Yeah, I'd classify that as childhood. I'm trying to think of what else you did. You definitely shot a lot of shingle nails at me.
Yeah.
We worked with a guy named Brady, and I do remember one day.
I don't know. What were you talking about with Brady?
Oh, no, it's not bad.
Okay.
It's not bad.
Okay.
I don't think that guy did anything bad ever.
No, but I think we were... I mean, not we. I shouldn't say we. I should say...
Yeah, don't include me in it. Whatever
I should say, like, I was the bully. And I remember, like, lots of times Brady was, like, the brunt of the being bullied or bullied.
Well, I distinctly remember he was across a house. And he again, it seemed like staplers and nailers were very common, obviously in construction. But... doing things with them that had nothing to do with building anything.
Yeah.
And he's like, he looked at you and he said to you, what will you do if I get this in the garbage can? There's like a garbage can across the house.
Right.
And you're like, I don't know. Mm-hmm. It was because it was really random. And then he's like, you must respect me. Oh. And he shot it and he missed. And you're just like, fuck you. Just went
That's what he said to me?
You must respect me.
No, but then so he missed and then he told me.
You like, we're like, fuck you. And he went back to work. Yeah, I was just, because he was so random and he was so funny too.
Oh, he was funny.
And he was so nice, like unbelievably nice. Yeah. He's just like, everything was the best. And he just shoots this thing, not even close. And just, fuck you. Back to work, dude.
I remember I was a really good shot at those, actually.
Yeah, you were pretty good because, I mean, I don't know if there's something to brag about.
I mean, I think so.
Is it? Huh? Costs a lot of money?
Well, a lot of money is like probably a cent a nail.
I have another story.
Oh, boy.
But I'll tell it off the podcast. I don't know if you remember it. So, yeah, I'll tell it off the podcast. Okay. Yeah, but anyways, do you want to tell the story about Saskatchewan? How you remember it?
Oh, yeah, sure.
You should tell it.
But like, so going back to it, like going back to the nail guns.
Yeah.
Remember every time someone would go to the bathroom, like use the porta potty, instantly, as soon as someone would close the door, you would just like litter, like the whole time you're trying to take a leak, you're just here tick, 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 tick.
I never went to the bathroom.
You were scared to go out of the door because you were scared that they weren't going to know. And you get a nail in the face.
It's terrifying. Yeah. And you would have shot them with a nail in the face. It would have been the greatest day of your life. Man, do you remember when I'm trying to think of...
See, actually, now that we're talking, and I told you I have a bad memory, now it's like coming back in like waves.
Were you angry?
No, I don't think
so. What was going on in your life?
I was just so happy. I don't know.
You're like, I'm having a great day. I'm going to push this kid out of the window. Yeah. Dang. Like, I remember one day, you didn't do anything here, but I remember in Saskatchewan, passing drywall, 5/8 drywall, down that stairwell with no stairs. And I had to step onto the ladder, and the ladder flipped out. What? Do you remember when I fell from the floor to the concrete? And all I heard was when I hit the ground, our boss, Ryan, was like, he broke his arm. He broke his arm. And I was laying there. I'm like, he said I broke my arm. Yeah. And I stood up. I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah. Like, you fell into the basement?
Yeah, because we were passing drywall down.
Okay.
And I had to step on the top of the ladder that wasn't quite high enough. It was just like a... regular fold out ladder, and it just kind of flipped out. So I just went down. I was like, peace.
Ryan, this wave. Yeah.
Yeah, he broke his arm.
That was the one thing about Ryan was like, it was like always like, he was chill until like something like a little bit happened and he would lost his mind.
It was bad, yeah. I remember him one day. This was a good moment. I learned a lot of stuff in that moment, or like, I feel like I grew up a decent amount, maybe not all the way, but a decent amount. Yeah. There was one moment, like, I was pretty nervous as a kid and pretty anxious. I still am, but I was pretty nervous and pretty anxious and like scared of a lot of things. And I remember lifting like a 2nd-story wall up, and there was like 4 of us, and it was like a whole wall. And that always freaked me out, like lifting those walls on the 2nd floor. Yeah. And so we flip it up, and I'm holding the middle, and I'm obviously nervous or something. I don't know. And I'm like, said something, and then all of a sudden Ryan yells from across, "Pelly, it's okay. It's not going anywhere." And it was like one of those moments where I'm like, oh, he's right. It's not going. It just calmed me right down. I was like, okay, you don't need to be so scared, dude. Right. It's okay. Yeah. And then he nailed her down, and we were good. Oh. It was those prefabbed walls, those freaking prefabbed.
Remember when one fell on Bo?
Off his head.
Yeah, like... But thankfully, we wore hard hats.
Do you remember when I was holding up that back wall and the telehandler ran out of fuel?
No.
So telehandler ran out of fuel. We were all like, there was like 4 guys. End of the day, it was like a 13-hour day.
Yeah.
And everyone's shot. Mm-hmm. And telehandler runs out of fuel, almost putting the wall down. So Ryan had to go get fuel. Well, as soon as he goes to get fuel, gets out of the telehandler, everybody but me lets go of the wall.
Oh.
And it was all had sheeting on the outside too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well,
That's a big sail.
I can't hold this thing up. Right. So I just moved to the doorway and it just, no. Yeah, because I couldn't hold it.
That's probably really loud that it said that.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. It fell?
Oh, yeah. It fell. Like, it was main floor, so it was good.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, it fell. And I'm like, you guys, I can't hold an entire wall. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Come on, Pelly.
Yeah. It's just, that was all that same day. That was that same thing, like, where the wall slipped out and hit Bo.
Yeah. That was...
Dang. Do you have any good stories?
Well, like, so now that we're talking about, like, Partridge, do you remember Dylan's first day? Dylan Rimples?
Mm-mm.
He came in, like, and like you said, like, very nervous, like, obviously a bunch of hard dudes working construction.
The least hard construction crew.
Come on, Smith. But so he comes in super nervous, and we're unpacking the trailer. Like, it was like it was like 8 o'clock, whatever time it was that we started. And he's like, is there anything I can do? I'm like, yeah, man, like, go get the stud stretcher.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So, and then I completely forgot about him. And I think we're already laying on studs. We're doing something.
Yeah.
He comes back. He's like red in the face, so nervous. He's like, I can't find it. So then I'm like, oh my goodness, how long has it been? So I remember trying to explain it to him what it looks like, and he goes back in the trailer. And I'm pretty sure you were like, Dustin, like, what are you doing? And I was like, no, he'll come back with something. I was hoping he'd come back with a tool, but
yeah,
I don't think he came back with anything.
I don't think he
just
did.
And I was like, oh, and then once he finally came back, it was probably like, it was a good time to pass. And I was like, hey, like, sorry, no, stretchers don't exist.
That's unbelievable. Dang, man. Yeah. Did you ever get in trouble for anything? Like, not in life.
Up? Oh,
no.
Oh, like just in construction?
Yeah.
Like with Ryan?
Like, all of it, other
like,
than...
I just remember him be like, hey, you can't say that. Like, like his quick little, hey, like, oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's what I remember the most.
Yeah. I don't remember, like I never...
Like, you didn't do anything to, like, anybody, and we're like...
No, I didn't get, like, penalized or something.
You should have gotten time out. We should have put you against a wall like the gulags and just...
Yeah.
Everybody gets a shot.
Is that what you wanted?
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah, dude. I would have lived for that. I probably would have felt sorry for you. It's like, like an abusive, like, spouse. Like, he means well. Yeah. You guys.
He didn't mean to give me a black eye.
Dude, that was sweet. Those were good times. That was like, when I started there, I had just come from working on uncle's farm.
Oh.
And it wasn't the greatest experience. It's pretty rough. And I thought, I was like, oh, this is what the rest of life is going to be like. Like, this is it. So when I started there, it was like, oh, this is unreal. Like,
yeah, it was a party. Like, we had a good time.
And it was like, I really liked it. Like, the atmosphere was like, hey, like, you have to try and do things right. Right. Like, you do things right. If you do something wrong, take responsibility, and we'll show you how to do it right.
Yeah.
Don't be an asshole. Despite
Dustin gets to be the asshole.
Yeah,
Dustin's the asshole.
Yeah, but you kind of knew. Like, it wasn't like you were an asshole to just
Right.
because you're a miserable human. Maybe
Right.
you were. I don't know.
I don't think I was.
But it was a good atmosphere to like come out of that and go into something else. It's like, this people are decent.
Right.
People are. You don't have to be an asshole to be a hard worker or to do whatever. Because I think, I don't know. I look at sometimes other construction crews and people are just assholes
Just miserable.
for no reason.
Right.
It's like you just started your day. Why are you being a dick already?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were in like police university?
Yeah. So then I'm like, and then I couldn't get a job, and then I came back to H2. But do you remember when we dangled from the? We put on the harnesses, and we went up like that Zoom boom super high. And we just like that is so unsafe.
Yeah, incredibly. Especially seeing down the road that wall slipped off of those forks.
Right. Yeah.
Imagine if we
Dude, we would have just been mush.
or we're both in a wheelchair. Not that being in a wheelchair is funny, but if we were both in wheelchairs,
because
it's funny.
that is silly mistake. But like, because like, how high do you think that thing reached us?
I don't know what's the max.
Like I feel like I remember like whatever tall those roofs are. I'm pretty sure that thing could reach shingles to the top,
to the peak of a 2-story house.
Right.
I don't know.
So whatever, like 35 feet.
Yeah, it felt high.
It felt high.
We were just dangling.
Yeah, like nothing under our feet, just that harness.
Just the Lord.
That's not what it's. Yeah, just the Lord, because that's not what those harnesses are built for.
No, they're for falling off roofs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you were in college, did you want to be like a town police officer?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Like that was always the goal. Like I always wanted to do some sort of like first responder or like a military type deal. That was always the goal. Like construction was never on the list.
It was just like filling space.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I had a wife and 3 kids to feed, and I couldn't go chasing like I couldn't go chasing my dreams at that point. And like not that my dreams wasn't to be a husband and a father.
Yeah.
But that my like career aspirations needed to take a hold. So I was making good money with construction, and it's a good skill.
Yeah.
It's a good skill to have. So yeah.
Do you still use it? Like, do you still build stuff?
Oh yeah. I'm not happy when I do it. Like sometimes like the wife will be like, "Hey, can you make something?" I'm like, I'll be grumpy about it and like be building it. But like, yeah, I feel like I still got the skills.
Yeah. I don't feel like I do.
No?
Like I could build a wall.
Yeah, but like you put these squares up and they look pretty like, what's the word, asymmetrical?
Yeah, like I can.
So you know how to use
I
tape
work well. I work well with shapes. Yeah, if that's what you mean.
No, but like it's evenly spaced out.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did use a tape measure for that, so pretty impressive.
Yeah,
right?
so you know how to read it.
I do.
It's a skill.
I had a tape measure with like it had all the things labeled on it when I first started.
It's like just 6 inches.
Shut up. Like it would say like 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch.
Oh, okay.
It had
Like
them
you had
all
cheat notes?
labeled on the tape measure.
Oh, I remember your tape measure. I
And
made
Kels,
fun of that.
you broke it. You threw it away.
I broke it?
Yeah.
Of course I broke it.
Because it had a rip in it, so it wouldn't go back quite right, and it pissed you off. So then you threw it away on me, which was sick.
Yeah.
So I had to get a real one.
You probably go to Stanley or something.
Yeah, probably a Fat Max.
Oh yeah, Fat Max.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like growing up, did you want to get into law enforcement?
Yeah, man.
Like was that the plan?
Like that was the goal.
Did you have any other things? Like if you had a choice, like you were like, hey, I'm single guy, working construction, had no other responsibilities. Is that what you still would have probably done?
Law enforcement?
Yeah, like would you
still pursued that? Yeah, 100%.
Dang. Good for you.
Yeah, man.
Or would you do military?
Well, like, so like a military was kind of like my thought, but like, so like I'm trying to remember how it exactly happened. So yeah, that's right. So I got married young. So obviously I took a pause on the military, like pursuing the military dream, and then I went through the whole hiring process. I did like the aptitude test for the military and all this stuff. And the week that my daughter was born, they called me up and like, hey, yeah, you're accepted or whatever. We just need you to come back to the office and sign a couple things. So I remember I showed up and I went to the doorstep and like my daughter was born like within a couple of days of this period. And I didn't really know like what that career looked like, but I knew that whatever it was, I wanted to be a present dad.
Yep.
So then I remember I called him on the doorstep. I was like, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it, and I'm not going to do this. So then the recruiter was pissed. He was mad. He's like, right, well, we're going to close your file, and if you think you can reply back in 6 months, we're not even going to look at you. So I was like, no, that's fine. I want to be a dad.
Oh, I feel like that's a admirable move for son.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like, I don't regret that decision. Like, that was.
Do you think
decision.
Do you think he was like looking in the future? He knew the Ukraine stuff would come up, and he's like,
I mean, like,
this son of a.
that was 14 years ago. That was,
hey, you know what? Some people know, right?
yeah,
they get a feeling.
Yeah, they do.
That's sweet. So then your daughter was born, and you're like, "Hey, we got to take a different route."
Yeah.
Did you do anything like before construction and the school stuff? Like, did you do anything in between?
I don't think so. But like, so during that, like, training, like during that, I don't even know what it's called, post-secondary, college. I don't know what the label is.
You were just furthering your education.
I had a couple of, like, security gigs. So I did the security of the Blue Bomber Stadium. I had to do security for the Festival of Lights, like where they have like a parade.
Yep.
It's like the preamble to like the Christmas parade thing. Mm-hmm. So like they asked us to do security, but then something happened where one of the exhibits didn't have enough people, like to wear their costumes. So they're like, you two. So they picked me and one of the other guys. Like, you're gonna wear our costumes. So I was like, yeah, I'll wear a costume, but I want my face covered because I don't want to wear. So literally, man, I wish I could find it, but I wore an elf costume.
Of course you did.
And it was like a huge head, like with a little elf thing, and like, you know how like you can see like their face. It was just. I was looking through the elf's mouth, and then my buddy that I was with, he was a Christmas tree, but his face was cut off, so you could like see it. And then like we had to like say hi to like the public.
And you were still doing security, like in these costumes? That's unbelievable.
Could you imagine security guard coming through in an elf costume being like, hey, stop drinking in public, whatever, like, get out of here.
That's enough eggnog for you, ma'am.
Exactly.
Scram.
Yeah, and then get beat up in an elf costume.
Do you think if Santa showed up, you'd like stand at attention? Like just naturally? Because you're the... What?
Sam?
Santa.
Oh, Santa. I feel like I would. Like,
you just naturally, because you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah, oh, Santa.
Boss is here.
Yeah, straight up. Just 6 up. Yeah.
Dang. And your friend was a tree.
Yeah, he was a Christmas tree.
Did he light up at all?
Oh, did he? I don't know. I remember there being lots of light bulbs. But
should have set him on fire.
Set him on fire? What?
That's what you do with trees, right? I mean,
like when they're not being used anymore. Yeah. No, he was like a nice looking Christmas tree.
You should have brought him home.
Brought him home?
Yeah, put him in the living room.
The ornaments?
Yeah, just set him. Dude, you're gonna have to stay here.
Yeah, don't talk.
Yeah, shut the hell up.
That'd be funny.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it though? Like it was good?
Like, yeah, I think so.
Just passing time.
It was something else to add to the resume. But like, I guess, how do I add that to the resume? Like, oh yeah, I was an elf for this.
I was gonna say, depends where you're applying. I mean, if it's the North Pole, you might have an in, dude.
Yeah, I'm an excellent elf. There's no complaints about me.
Can't build. You can.
Yeah, I can.
Wow.
Oh man, I could have.
Wow.
Could have pursued a career in North Pole.
Is that how you got into construction? You're like, I was an elf.
Yeah, it's for a day.
So you can build an Etch-a-Sketch.
Yeah.
Dang. So then you did security, and was that while you were in school?
Yeah.
So you're doing that kind of, what is that called? Not gaslighting. Is that gaslighting?
Gaslighting. Oh, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah. Like moonlighting.
Moonlighting.
Yeah, like gaslighting is when I say it.
Like, when you call me a mean name,
yeah,
and then play it off like you didn't.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like when you try and push me out a window and say, "But we're having fun."
Right. Well, I think we were laughing. like this.
I mean, with tears. Yeah, that's unreal, man.
Yeah.
Did anybody disrespect you as a security guard?
Probably.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, probably.
We used to, when we were younger, like into high school, we used to go up to the lake and we would do this thing. We called it car surfing. I don't know if that's actually what it's called, but we would hold on to the roof of like a friend's SUV.
Yeah.
And then they would rip down the lake road. And you try and hold on to the roof, sweet. Which sounds, thinking back, like if that goes wrong, which is kind of the fun of it, that goes really wrong. Like you bounce off a road.
Right. And then you run the risk of getting a tire over you.
Yeah. So we're doing that. And all of a sudden the security guard there pulls the person driving over, and me and another friend are on the roof. And we're like, oh shit, we're going to be in so much trouble, right?
Right.
Well, he goes to the door of the vehicle and starts talking to the driver, and I realize he doesn't know we're on the roof.
What?
Yeah. So I'm like, look at my friend.
Is it dark out?
Yeah, it's dark out.
Okay.
We slide off the back of the vehicle and just start walking away.
Huh?
I'm like, there's no way.
Yeah.
This guy either doesn't figure this out or doesn't know.
Right.
He hops in his vehicle after he's done talking to them, turns around, drives past us. We give him a wave. He gives us a wave. Our friends come pick us up. They're like, he had no idea you guys were up there. I don't know how you don't notice that.
Yeah.
But no, didn't notice. And we got away.
There was 2 of you on the roof?
2 of us on the roof of a Jeep, like a 90s Jeep Grand Cherokee.
Huh.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So that's my experience with security guards.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, so anyways, back to the Saskatchewan accident or whatever.
It's just like, well, to bring this back around.
Yeah, well, I remember you asked me, and then we
Go ahead.
branched off.
Got to keep the people.
Do you remember we were working north of Estevan? I don't remember the town though.
Were we not in Estevan? Was that not Estevan?
Yeah, no. So we were living in Estevan, but we were building a house north of Estevan. It was like 25-minute drive from Estevan.
That's right. For some reason, I thought we were in Estevan. But obviously that makes sense because we had to drive down that 2-lane highway.
Yeah, yeah. So we're flying back. I'm driving, and like I had the crew set at like I want to say 105.
Yeah, because that truck was not.
No, like, it was a hog.
Yeah, and it was a shit day before this, by the way.
Yeah,
like,
we were gassed.
Like it was like everything was kind of not going smooth.
Yeah,
it was cold out.
Yeah, it was cold, and we were. It was probably. I think it was just when winter was starting. I think we were supposed to be done that job by already. But yeah, the 3 of us were driving. So you were in the passenger seat, and then Matt
was in the center.
Was in the center. And it was just a standard cab, right?
Yeah, and it was like a diesel 2-wheel drive Dodge diesel truck.
Yeah. Yeah, we're flying. We're heading south back to Estevan, and you and Matt were sleeping. I want to say, right? Yeah. You guys were out cold, and I remember this Chrysler 300 kind of pulls into our oncoming lane, but just a little bit.
And that's when I kind of woke up then,
right? Because I alerted. I was like, "What is this person doing?" And then I think at that point you would have woken up because I was vocal about what was happening. And then they inched a little bit more into our lane, and I was like, what's going on? So at this point, I believe I hit the brakes by now, but I didn't like slam on the brakes. I just like got out of cruise control.
Yeah.
And then I was getting ready to like move over, and then she pulled right in front of us, and I went for shoulder, but she went enough that we'd sent her. Apparently, she went like 3 donuts, like further back and into the ditch, and we plowed like straight into the ditch. There's deep snow.
Into deep snow, yeah.
Yeah.
Like that was because I remember I'm like, you had said, whoa, what's she doing? And I was like kind of in and out, and I was like, oh, whoa, like this. Looks like she stopped, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then what were we? Like, how far away when she started? Like, it felt like it was like 15 feet.
Yeah.
And she's just like, not going now. Just bang. And me and Matt were wearing seatbelts, right?
Yeah.
And then can I be incriminated now?
No.
Like, is that a crime?
No, but like, didn't he ask you anyways?
Yeah, I'll tell this story. And I remember like slamming my head on something. I was like, what the heck just happened? I'm like, am I alive?
You and Matt both impacted the windshield.
Yeah, we both cracked a spot on the windshield with our heads.
Yeah.
And then I'm like kind of in and out of it. And then the cab starts filling up with smoke. And I go to open my door and I can't get it open.
And I'm freaking out.
And then all of a sudden I hear you say, open the fucking door. And I'm like, oh shit, I guess I gotta, like, this is on fire.
Right. Yeah,
and then I'm kicking this door with my boot. And then I slide my way out, and then Matt gets out, and then you got out. And then later on, Ryan's like, something about us getting out, and then you threw me under the bus. You're like, this dumbass couldn't open the fucking door. And I'm like,
I didn't say.
oh yeah, I did. But it was funny. Dude, I sound like an abused housewife. It was funny. It was fine.
Yeah.
I should have opened it quicker.
Be better.
And then we got out, and your wrists were mangled, right?
Yeah, like I remember it was my left one. Something impacted my
Yeah, it was. I think they said it was because the steering wheel, wasn't it? Like your thumbs were wrapped around the steering wheel and you gripped it.
Oh, yeah.
So it like cranked them or something.
Right.
I thought.
Yeah.
And then Matt, I think, broke his foot.
Yeah, he broke it like his big toe or something.
And he was stuck.
Yeah.
He was laying in the snow. Yeah, there was a crack in the windshield where my head hit.
Yeah.
There's a crack in the windshield where his head hit. And you were wearing your seatbelt,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Did you have any other injuries besides
Well,
the
no,
wrist?
just like the injury from wearing the seatbelt and then my wrist.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Yeah.
And then do you remember the paramedic that came to help Matt?
Yeah, that was a unit. But I in my mind, now that you're saying this, I remember there being like more than one person around Matt. There was like
because
there was 5 or 6 people.
The guy
right?
who came to help Matt got stuck in the ditch.
Right, he came to help, fell on Matt, right?
Yeah,
He
got stuck.
and then other people had to come.
Yeah, which is hilarious. And then I get pulled into the ambulance because they're checking me over, and the lady in there is like, "So were you wearing your seatbelt?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yep." And
Yeah.
she's like, "I need to know if you're wearing your seatbelt or not."
Right.
And I was like, "I was." She's like, "You're not going to get a ticket. Nothing's going to happen to you, but I need to know if you're wearing your seatbelt or
Right,
not." And I was like, "Yeah, I was."
Yeah.
She's like, "All right." And you could tell, like, she
Right,
knew.
she's mad. She's like, just tell me the truth.
Yeah, because obviously I have no like seatbelt injury, and there's
Yeah.
a crack in the windshield where my head hit, and a scar bleeding on my head.
You had a cut?
Yeah, I had a cut.
Oh.
I'll tell you about this too.
Oh.
I don't know if I ever told you this part.
No.
That cut. You know how MPI pays you like for injuries or whatever?
Yeah.
So I went into they're like, we got to measure your cut because there's on my one side, I don't even know where it is. I have a little scar, like a tiny scar, maybe like a ½ inch. And she is this lady in like a hippie dress kind of thing. She's like, yeah, I'm just going to measure it. She's like, reads her paper and she's like, oh, it's on this side of your head or whatever. I'm like, I think that's the wrong side. I didn't say it, but I'm like, I think that's the wrong side of my head. She pulls out a tape measure. She measures it. About 3 inches. And I'm like,
3 inches?
I was like, all right.
Yeah.
And she goes, and then all of a sudden, yeah, MPI is like, pays me out for a 3-inch scar. I'm like, what is this person doing?
Did you give me a cut?
Oh, hell no, dude.
Why not?
There's trauma back pay.
Okay, that's fair.
I had to, you know how much therapy I've had to go through? three inches didn't cover anything, man.
Was it like 1,000 an inch?
I don't know if it was that much. It was something like that, though. It was decent.
Yeah. I hooked you up with that money. You didn't give me a cut.
No, dude. There's no way.
I see how it
You
is.
sent me. I did pay the lady in the car.
You paid her?
Yeah. Send her a little cash.
Did you actually?
No.
Oh, because she got tickets.
Yeah, I know. Like when we were in the
Yeah.
hospital. Can you believe that they didn't tell me and Matt we had concussions?
I can't believe I didn't have a concussion.
Did you ever go to the hospital after we left?
So after Estevan, I went to the Morden Hospital and I told them what happened, and they had me overnight, and then they did a CAT scan, but I had nothing. Like I sat in that whatever that thing is called, and they didn't. I had nothing, like no symptoms or like
nothing.
No, yeah.
Well, I came back, and then like 2 days later, I went to work out, and I lifted, tried to do something. I forget what it was, and I just got a splitting blackout headache. Like I couldn't see, so I had to lay down, and then 5-10 seconds it went away.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, whatever, that's weird. And I went and did it again. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
So I went home. I guess I'm not going to work out today. Went home. Tomorrow will be better. That's such a wild thing to just be like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, just keep this off. Whatever this random blackout thing is.
Yeah. So I went home, came back the next day, same thing. So I'm like, oh, maybe I have tight muscles or something. I don't know how I got to that conclusion either. So I went to see a massage therapist who I guess just happened to work with concussions.
Oh.
And she's like, can I see the inside of your mouth? And I was like, sure. So she puts these gloves on and she puts her hand on the roof of my mouth. And she's like, you need to go to the hospital. You have a concussion. And I was like, I guess something you can tell. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what she told me. So I went in there and then they went through the symptoms and whatever, did their thing. And they're like, yeah, you have a concussion.
Right.
And I'm like, all right. And they're like, that's why you can't see when you lift things. It's like, oh, okay. So then they're like, meanwhile, after the accident, we just went back. We ate some Dominoes and went to bed.
That's right. We ate a pizza.
Yeah. We ordered like 4 pizzas and just lived a good life. Went to sleep.
And magically woke up?
Yeah, I think.
What do you mean?
Maybe I'm still dreaming, dude. Maybe that's how long the dream is.
But it'd be like Narnia, where you also you wake up and nothing's changed.
This is me
You're
waking
still
back
super
up.
scrawny.
Oh, come on.
What? I mean, no. I'm saying like you wake up and you get out of the closet and you're still little Pelly.
Little Pelly.
Yeah.
I've always been Big Pelly, right?
No, but but back when you were 19.
Yeah, it's still massive,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Thanks,
Yeah,
man.
man.
That's what I
got
needed.
you.
That's what I needed. Yeah, that was wild. And then what did we do? Did we work the next day or we just go home?
I think we just went home.
I think so too. Because you were building your house at that time too.
Was I?
Yeah, or shortly after.
I built it over summer, so
Okay.
maybe it was that winter that. Yeah, I don't remember.
That sucked. That was the worst. We did end up going back there. I remember that, and that sucked even more. It was like minus 40.
Oh man!
And the concrete footing was just brutal. I also you might have to tell me if I need to cut this out or not. I also remember putting flipping strapping up on that roof inside the garage, and the garage floor had nothing in it. And I'm in the there was no, they just poured the footing, so the ground was all frozen dirt with rebar sticking out of it. And I'm in the rafters.
Why again were you working and I wasn't?
And I was putting strapping up in the rafters and nailing the strapping in to space out the rafters.
Right.
And meanwhile, you had to take a shit.
Right.
And had nowhere to take a shit.
Because there's no porta potties.
So instead of going outside
In the cold.
you shit in the corner of the garage. And it stank so insanely bad. And where does heat travel? Up. So I just
I'm not a scientist.
I just see, shut up. I just see this steam rising to where I am. Oh, dude, you could see the steam.
No,
I
I remember because it was dark already at this point.
Yeah, but I'm obviously working in some light. Like I'm putting strapping.
You probably had that big yellow light in the middle.
Yeah, and you're just dropping a deuce in the corner of a flipping dirt grass.
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to remember why you were working and I wasn't.
Yeah, I didn't realize it then, but it seems really consistent.
It seems like you're always doing something, and then I'm coming in and ruining it. Seeking off Belly. It's time to bully this guy.
He's getting his job done.
Yeah. He's being responsible.
Yeah, this motherfucker's making me look bad.
I'm gonna take a shit in the corner.
Fuck you, dude.
Yeah, but I remember I left the turd on the tie bar, and I did move it. Like I did.
No, you did not, dude.
100% I did.
Did you clean it up?
Yeah, like I pooped on the tie bar, and then
What did you wipe with?
tie bar, I think. That's gnarly, man.
Well, there was no outhouse, which was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it was so cold.
That's a workers' comp claim.
It should be. Like
shitting outside. Oh, it was for sure dark, but we did have a light in there, but it was nighttime. So,
but like, why were we alone? I don't know where anybody else was.
Because we're adults, Dustin.
But I don't remember.
Like, why was nobody supervising us? Usually they put us on a leash when they left.
Say nothing, no more.
Why were we alone?
You know what's even funny? If we had shock collars. And we were like...
Wait, you didn't have one?
No, but that'd be funny though. We had like shock collars and like building and all of a sudden, God.
I wish I had the remote.
Yeah. Like,
I'm gonna shit in the corner. No, no, don't do it.
Yeah.
I feel like you still want.
oh, yeah, I would have. I remember I had to go bad. That's why I did it.
Thanks. At least you had to go bad. That saves you. Frick, that's funny.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh, man. Do you miss that?
No.
No, I don't either.
I see these guys now, like, shingling in, like, the rain and stuff. I'm just like...
Well, there's a steel building that's been being built for, like, the past 2 years across the street here. Yeah. And in wintertime, when it's, like, minus 30 even, I'm just like, why?
Yeah.
It just looks... touching steel all day?
Yeah. I'd rather do anything else. Yeah. Man.
Famous last words.
Yeah.
Did you ever have to do any, like, steel or tin when we were working? Because I never did. Like, I did a little bit, like, outside of it, just helping people out, but never, like, I never had to do it.
Like, I installed, like this stuff.
Sheeting?
On a couple roofs. But, like, no, never in, like, any steel framing stuff.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, because I know I always hated, like, soffit fascia.
Yeah.
Because it would catch, like, in winter, it would catch on your gloves.
Yeah.
And that just irritated the shit out of me. Yeah. So I can only imagine dealing with, like, stuff like that all the time. Yeah. I do, though. There is something I do miss about being outside.
Yeah?
Yeah, like working outside. Like, you not so much.
No,
eh?
man. No.
The heat stroke king.
Yeah. I always had a heat stroke, man.
Yeah.
If the sun was out, I was dummied.
Dustin, get into the shade. Work inside. No, I'm fine.
Yeah. And then I'm puking.
Yeah, an hour later, you're on some scaffolding.
Laying down.
Ryan's yelling at me. Yeah. Why is the shingles not done? I'm by myself again.
Dustin's laid.
Didn't you get taken to the hospital the one day? That was the day you were laying on the scaffolding.
Yeah?
I think Ryan's dad drove you to the hospital, didn't he?
Oh, I don't remember this. I mean, maybe.
Or you went in like a ice tub or something, which I think is dangerous.
Yeah, I don't know how to treat heat stroke.
I picked that up. Yeah. I'm just going to assume that at this point.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. But yeah, I would always have it. And like they called me the canary.
Why?
Well, because like, you know how like in like the mines, you have a little bird, and then if the bird dies and you know the grass is bad, so you have to leave. So then, like, if I start getting sick, then we knew it was time for a break. Yeah.
Like, how many times do you think you've gotten heat stroke?
Oh, man, I don't even know. But like, if the sun was out and we were working, I guarantee I had a heat stroke.
Like, what happens? Like, what do you feel?
Like a really bad headache. A really bad headache. And, like, sweating. And, like, nauseous. So nauseous.
I remember, too, nothing was funny then.
Yeah.
Like you were like, it was like, oh, now I can't joke. Or like, now and it was like your most vulnerable time, too. So it was like my opportunity.
That's probably why I was angry, because I'm vulnerable.
Yeah, you were like, I was like, oh, this is my time. And you're like, no, don't fuck with me. No. And I'm like, yeah, but you always fuck with me.
Yeah, it's my turn, man.
You're weak. Yeah. Oh, man. I remember the one time me and you were actually shingling a roof, and we had like a student kind of kid working with us.
Oh, boy.
And you had gotten heat stroke. It was one of those days, and it was windy, too. And he was holding the shingles, and he kept talking, and like he was young. So at that, I was young, but he was younger.
Okay.
And I was just like, I can't stand this. I'm like, just make sure those shingles don't like blow into my face, because that's not going to feel good. He's like, yeah. And he knew everything, always. Mm-hmm. You know who I'm talking about.
I think I ring your bell, but like, I hope you don't mention.
I'm not going to mention anybody's name.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. After we've mentioned every other employee that worked there. And then all of a sudden, gust of wind blew. It smacked me in the face with this shingle. And I just stopped and looked at him.
Yeah.
And I was just like, shut up. Like, just be quiet. Just hold the shingles now. Yeah. And, I was angry at you because I was supposed to be the one holding the shingles, and you were supposed to be the one shingling.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
Yeah. Huh.
Dang. Who was your did you have a least favorite when we worked together? Like someone that just drove you nuts? If it's me, it'd be funny too.
No, it wasn't you.
You don't have to say their name.
Yeah,
but
like, I
just
don't know,
have a good story.
There's no. Like, there's no one person I'm like, oh yeah, that guy was trash. Like, I just remember, like, there's that one summer we had, like, I don't know, 15 people. There were so many people working, and then they all got fired. Like, we hired them, and like a month later, they all got just fired.
Yeah, it was like
and
the day of reckoning.
And then like you and like Ryan's cousin or brother-in-law, and then me were like the only ones left, right? Because Kelsey and Nathan had split up.
Yep.
Yeah, it was just the four of us.
Yep. And then
and Brady.
And yeah, but Brady was leaving to go to school or something.
Right. Were you doing the army or military or something, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if he continued with that. I haven't talked to him since then, but do you remember the guy with the throwing stars?
What?
Maybe that was Ryan's nephew or cousin or whatever.
Throwing star.
Yeah, he was I don't know if this is offensive or not. I guess it's not. I guess it's offensive now that I said I don't know if it's offensive. But he was part of the Baptist church or whatever. Huh. And he was just a little different. Like the gang of misfits we had. He fit right in. But he was a little different in terms of that was his difference. And he hadn't really been exposed to the world quite as much. But he was super smart at construction. He was a good worker.
Okay.
And I think his name, I'm going to say his name because he was a good guy. I think his name was Paul. He had kind of an odd voice. No. And he was complaining about getting his throwing stars. He tried to bring throwing stars through the airport security.
Okay.
And they took him away from him. And he was complaining about getting his throwing stars taken away at the airport.
What? Okay.
Do you not remember this?
I don't think so.
Dang. I got a bunch more stories, but I just don't know if they're going to be. I don't want to say the stories and then someone knows this guy and is like, feels like I was making fun of him or something. Because he was a dang hard worker. Like, he was probably one of the better workers. But I don't know if maybe he kept working with you. Oh, and then there was Ryan's brother-in-law.
Yeah. So that
was he Armenian or what was he? Like, what was this?
He was from like Switzerland or something. He was from Benny.
Yeah. He as a young guy, for me, and now looking back, I totally understand why. But he kind of like pushed me aside out of the picture a little bit. Oh. But I understand now. Like, it was like days when it was really cold or stuff like that. And he was good. He was really good at like drywalling and stuff, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Like that was his job before.
And I remember being irritated because he got called, like, it was like, okay, we're just drywalling, so we just need him.
Right. I remember this day, man. So I think it was like Ryan told you not to come into work that day.
Yeah.
But you showed up. Why? Do you remember?
Oh, probably to prove a point.
Because like it was me, Benny, we were drywalling, and then all of a sudden you were there, and I remember seeing on your face, dude. You were like, "What?"
But looking back now, I'm like, the guy had a family,
right?
Like, no shit.
But you had sonority.
Yeah, but you have to. What trumps it? A 19-year-old, 20-year-old who's like has to pay a few $100 in rent a month, or a guy with kids and a family to pay bills. Yeah. I get it now, but I was pissed, so I showed up to work. What a good employee.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Yeah, that was funny. I have a joke, but I'm going to save it as well.
You're going to save that?
I was going to say I got him back in the end.
What'd you do?
This is terrible. I think he fell, didn't he? And got hurt or something?
I don't know.
So, yeah, we'll just move on from that part.
Man, like there's so many blocks I just don't have.
I also remember one Christmas Eve when I kind of talked to everybody and Ryan and everybody, and I was just like, so are we working tomorrow and all this stuff? And everybody kind of gave me a vague answer.
Okay.
And then so I showed up to work on Christmas Eve. I was like, okay, let's do this thing. Yeah. Ryan shows up. That's it. Me and Ryan.
Really?
And I'm like, where is everybody? He's like, oh, they all took the day off. Like, it's Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
I was like, oh. He's like, I guess it's just me and you. And I'm like, why are you here? He's like, because you were going to come to work. And I'm like, yeah, but
you could have told me no.
Yeah, but I could go home now, but now you're here. So we just slowly built walls all day, and you guys all fricked off. And I was so pissed. I was like, are you serious? And you and Kelsey and everybody gave me such a vague answer. I was like, so I guess I'll just go to work tomorrow. It was a good day. Like, it was chill, but it was just like one of those things where I'm just like, you motherfuckers. Dude, yeah. I was like, what the heck's going on? And then I'm trying to think of another one. Oh, I tell this story. Oh, I was pissed at you this day.
Okay.
It was like minus like 35.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was so cold. And I remember at the start of winter, Ryan had told us, if it's anything colder than minus 25, we're not working this year. Like, we don't have to, so we're not going to do it.
Okay.
I don't know why, but that was, I remember him saying that.
25 was the cutoff.
Yeah, for some reason.
Okay.
I don't know. But it was like minus 35, and it's freaking cold, and all the airlines were freezing. All the guns, like air guns, were not working, nailers and stuff. And we're putting up second floor walls on this house. And nothing was working.
Right.
I was getting so pissed, and I was so cold. It was me, you, and I think him. And he came upstairs, and he's like, okay, you guys, nothing is working. What do you want to do? Do you want to keep working, or do you want to shut it down and whatever? Yeah. And we all stood there, and I didn't want to say anything, and you didn't want to say anything. And he was asking us, and we stood there, and then I'm thinking in my head, well, I'm the youngest guy here. I'm not going to be the bitch here and call it, but I want to go home. And then you're like, it's just quiet for a bit. No, I think we should keep working. I was like, fuck you. I was like, this guy, freaking, are you serious? And all I could think in my head, I think I even remember saying to you, I'm like, if I shoot myself in the foot with this nail gun, do you think I can go home?
If it worked.
Yeah, I was so mad, dude. I was like, this asshole. And we built like 3 walls that whole day.
Oh, my.
It was brutal. Do you remember that?
I don't.
No? Cool. Awesome. Yeah. Sick. Shout out to the person who's got that house.
Yeah.
It's got some demons in those walls.
Yeah. Oh, man. You must left a ghost in that house.
Yeah, dude. There's ghosts in some of those houses.
Yeah, 100%.
Man, that's a lot of good stories.
Yeah, that's crazy. So like, I'm not trying to figure out, like, when we, like... So, right, you must have quit before we moved to Calgary, eh?
Yeah, I did.
Did you quit because we moved to Calgary, or did you quit before that?
So, we were going to go to, I forget exactly what happened, but we were going to go to Calgary. And then I had a friend of mine had a job on the pipeline. And he said he could get me a job on the pipeline. So I told Ryan I was going to go work on the pipeline. I was going to come to Calgary. Yeah. And then I found out more information about that job on the pipeline. And it was like, basically, you just don't get paid for like 3 weeks of like all this stuff. And I'm like, at that time I was young. I was moved out. I was like, I can't afford to not work for 3 weeks. Yeah. So you guys went to Calgary, and I ended up working like for a couple different like small construction companies, because I was like, that's all I knew. Yeah. And then in between there, my old boss at Dairy Queen all of a sudden came up to me at the gym the one day and said, do you want to come back and work at Dairy Queen? And I was like, well, I can't live off of that wage. He asked me what I got paid in construction, and I told him. He's like, okay, I'll pay you that. Oh. I was like, oh, hell yeah. Yeah. I'm back, baby.
Flipping burgers. Yeah. What was your role?
I was like manager type thing. Okay. So it was good. Yeah. It was good for the time. It filled some space. Sure. But yeah, and then you guys went out west. Was that good? What?
That was crazy, man. Like we were promised like milk and honey.
Oh yeah.
And we did not get milk and honey.
What'd you get?
Oh man, like just
you were to use anxiety. A different metaphor.
Like I don't know what's a different metaphor for like the opposite of milk and honey.
So honey is sweet and milk is like creamy and satisfying.
Right. So it was the opposite.
I want to hear what you come up with, though.
I don't even know what I'd come up with.
Oh, I think you can find it somewhere there. No. Like human feces and being pushed out a window kind of thing? Yeah. Yeah, cool. So how long were you there for?
Oh, dude. Like 9 months.
Oh, a whole pregnancy.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, and we would come back like every like 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh, so you'd go back and forth.
Yeah.
So would you take a week off, or how would that work?
No, we would take off like 4 or 5 days, maybe like tops 4 or 5 days. But yeah, we'd go there. We'd live there. We lived like first couple of months. We just lived out of hotels, and then that got too pricey for him. So we pulled up his camper, and we stayed at like a campground. You know, like in Calgary, there's like the Olympic Park, whatever. Yep. So we stayed right by that Olympic place.
Oh, really?
And that's where like that was home for months. And then finally I was like I wasn't getting what I was like led to believe that I was getting.
Yep.
And I was like, man, this is not worth it. Like I was not around home at all. Like I'd come home for 3 days and be like, and just veg because that was the only time off.
And you're thinking about going back. Like you're like, oh, in 3 days or like
exactly.
In a few hours, it feels like probably I gotta go back.
Yeah. So then I patched over to Moonlight Construction. And
That's right.
Yeah, I worked with Moonlight for like 4 or 5 years.
You worked there that long?
Yeah.
Holy smokes! I forgot all about that.
Yeah, and then I moonlighted as a bouncer at Rock.
Yeah, that was good times.
That was crazy. Like I can't believe I did that.
Do you have any good stories from that?
Like a lot of the time, like when I first got hired, it was sweet because that was when the pipeliners were there.
Yeah.
So like we got in fights. Oh man, we got in fights. And like what was crazy was that it was only me. Like there and the rest of like the employees there were like the girls, like the girl servers. So like literally it was me. And like I didn't have to fight anybody really. But there was times where like I'm not gonna just take a licking for rocks. So like there was
a lot of fights. I remember that.
Like dude, like it was when the pipeliners were like peak season.
Yeah.
It was wild. Like I remember I got my teeth punched through my bottom lip. This guy when he came into the bar.
It was me.
You wish.
I was coming back, dude.
No, like most of the guys, they would recognize me and they'd be like, "Hey, here's $40. Here's $50. Keep me safe tonight." Or like, "Hey, thanks for your help tonight." So like a lot of guys would just give me like a handshake with some cash, and then so this one guy, he would habitually he'd come in on like. Every time he'd come in, he'd just give me some money. So I assumed that he was like of my bro. So him and this other guy, random guy, start getting in a fight over this chick on the dance floor. So I get in the middle of them and I show him my back, thinking that he's my guy. So I show my back and I get this other guy to stop fighting him. So his aggressor walks away and he doesn't recognize me because he's too drunk. I don't know. He spins me around. It just starts feeding me. So I'm like dazed. So finally, by the time I realized that I was getting punched, we already fell to the floor. So by the time I fell to the floor, then I was like, okay, fists up, let's get this on. And then I remember him looking at me when I was on the ground. I remember his fist was up, and then he realized, he goes, I remember him saying, "Oh shit," because then I think he recognized me at this point. So somebody helped me up, and I was fired up, but I had to be professional because that was my job. I couldn't like fight him now. So then my supervisor says, "Go clean up," and I have no idea at this point. My adrenaline's so pumped. I don't know that my face is like open and I'm bleeding everywhere. So he's like, "Go clean up in the bathroom." So I go to the bathroom. I'm like, "Oh man, I got blood just like pouring, like not pouring, but like my chin is bleeding and it's dripping down to my face onto my clothes." And I went like this, and I could see my teeth through like the bottom of my lip right here. So I was like, "Oh man, I go to the hospital." So I go and I get like 6 or 8 stitches, and I get the freezing, and then I come back and I finish the shift.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, man.
You're like, I'm not shutting this down.
Yeah.
So would you be there till close then?
Yeah, like my shift was 10 till 2, and then I would stay till like 2:30 because like last call's at 2 or whatever, or last call's like 10 to 2. But then people usually like still get the party started like going at like 2:15 and then like start kicking people out.
Did you have to like stay in like the parking lot and wait out there, or did you just
No,
kinda
like
leave it from
once
there?
once they're outside of the doors, they
Then
weren't
you're
my
good.
problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Dang, that's wild, man.
Yeah.
I forgot about that too, like how busy it was in there and stuff like that. Like just like with the pipeliners and everything.
Yeah.
That was right when that feels like a lifetime ago.
It does.
Like does it feel the
Yeah.
same for you?
Oh man, like it feels like that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my story, I mean, we kind of talked about this earlier. My reference of you working there is you bagging me in the nuts when I walked through the door.
Was it every time?
Oh, every time, dude. I would just cover up. I didn't go there a whole lot, but
Right.
when I did, you usually got sacked, and then I was like, shit. And then I would try and get my friend to get you back,
Yeah.
which didn't work very well, but, you know.
Yeah, no, that's fun.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah. I enjoyed it at the time, but I wouldn't do it again.
Would your because you had kids, right?
Yeah. A wife and kids.
What did they say? Like, what
They didn't understand. They didn't understand what I did. All they knew was like that's daddy's work. So they didn't really know what that was.
It's kind of a cool story though, like that you did that.
Yeah.
Man. Oftentimes, this is like the classic thing of like the person who works out who's like, oh, I'm going to be a trainer one day. It'd be cool to be a trainer one day and get like paid for working out.
Yeah.
Which is like the least thing you do. You're just like working with personalities mostly.
Right.
And in my head, I've always have this like thing. I'm like, oh, it'd be sweet to be a bartender.
Yeah.
And then in reality, whoever's a bartender, it's probably like he has no idea what it did, like what happens when you're a bartender.
Right.
Because in my head, I'm like, oh, you're flipping drinks, you're mixing
like,
stuff.
The mixology.
Yeah. Meanwhile, it's probably like just dealing with like the regular hammered dudes just leaning up against the counter.
Can I have another Budweiser?
What kind of whiskey do you guys have?
Yeah. And then I don't get it. Yeah, we were Boston Pizza earlier, and I was like, oh, yeah, I feel like a whiskey. And then she gives me the list. I'm like, yeah.
Did you bail on that because I didn't get one?
No, like I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure the atmosphere. And I was like, I don't really know if I want to, like, get into whiskey and then...
Say something absurd.
Say something I'm going to say something absurd anyways. But, like, I feel like I was like, I didn't want to drink alone, maybe?
Yeah, if you would have got a... Oh, so it was on me. That's gaslighting.
That's gaslighting?
I think that's gaslighting. I think so.
Oh.
Do your kids say, like, are they at the age when they say, like, new words, like, that you don't know?
Yeah, man. Like, they'll be like, oh, like, get... No, they'll be like...
Get bent.
No, like, but that'd be from, like, the tail end of our time.
Yeah.
The bent.
But it'd be
like,
funny if they're saying that to their dad. Get bent.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, like, there's so many different words that I don't even know, trying to think of a word that they would use. Like yeet. I was like,
what?
Yeet? Like YEET? I guess it's like for throwing something.
Oh, they're yeeting it.
Yeah. So like I was like, what are you saying? Like, oh, we're like yeet. Like,
no, didn't we have like Kobe? Like, you shoot something or throw something,
or you like pass out. Kobe.
What?
like if like late. Like if I fell asleep on the job, like, oh, he's Kobe.
I never did that. No. I thought you meant like out of a helicopter or something.
Oh, no, like, yeah, but that's way.
If I pass away, if I pass away and you come to my funeral, I want you to
whisper.
Wear a Lakers jersey to my funeral.
Is that what a team he's on?
Yeah. That's funny.
Oh, is that going to be a flag?
Who cares? That's funny. So they, like, yeet is one. Is there any other ones? Like, is there any that you've picked up?
I don't think so. I mean, like, maybe. But, like, I'm like the old guy now. Like, I'm the old dad.
Oh, I feel that way, and I'm not even 30 yet.
Yeah. Like, I don't even know.
Like, do they use, like, I heard dump truck.
Dump truck?
Yeah, that's like a butt.
Okay.
Like, she's got a dump truck or dumpy. That was the one I learned in, like, the past couple of years. I mean, there's lit.
Yeah.
That's pretty common.
Like, what's dead ass?
or and this, see, you say that, like, I get paranoid when I say it too, because I'm like, I don't know what it means. Like, is it like a racial slur, or is it like when people are like, on God?
Right. What does it mean?
I'm like, I have no idea.
And no cap. What's no cap?
Capping.
Right. No, but so capping would be like you're like, oh yeah, you're laying down like sweet words right now. Like,
no cap is like no lie.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. See, I
and what was the one you said?
Dead ass.
Dead ass. I think that's like serious. Like I'm serious. Up. Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
Do you ever try and keep up with them? Like,
oh no.
Dang. Yeah. Do they think, are you like cool to them?
Maybe. Like, I hope so. They don't tell me like, oh, dad, you're sweet. Like, you're a cool dad.
Would it be nice? Like, would that be nice for you to hear?
Probably. Just be like, okay, like
thanks, guys.
I'm cool with it.
You ever try and dap them up? Like,
what's that?
What's up? Like, it's where you like high five, slide it into pound it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like we do have a handshake.
Oh, jeez.
Why is it jeez?
Can you show me?
I don't like. It's just a simple one. It's just like this, and then this.
Yeah, it's dapping someone out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be like.
Oh, like a finger thumb war. And
yeah, you guys like kiss each other on the forehead at the end or something stupid.
Actually, that day my son, I was like, I was gonna kiss him on the forehead. He's like, "Oh, Dad, don't touch me." I'm like, "Oh, okay, sorry, bud." I was like, "I guess I'm not allowed to embrace you like that anymore." Sad how fast that goes.
Should have done it anyway.
Yeah, then he'll fight me. He's a honey badger, man.
Is he?
Oh yeah, he's a honey badger.
You should. No, I'm gonna kiss you. I'm your dad.
Yeah.
You're still my boy. Until you're 18, I'll still kiss you.
Yeah.
Do you remember? That reminded me of a story. Do you remember your freaking thumb thing that you showed? Oh man,
Something.
when you showed me, my voice cracked in the last part.
Yeah, you like spiked the thing over here.
Did I?
I heard that wing when your voice cracked.
Oh, the symbol.
Yeah.
Where you told me to close my eyes.
Your ears look funny.
Huh?
Your ears look funny. You got them out, so they're like sticking out like an elf.
I know I'm sweating, man.
You're sweating?
I'm laughing too hard.
Okay, yeah.
When you told the one day at work, you told me to close my eyes, and Ryan was standing right there too, and I was like, "All right," and he's kind of like, "What's gonna happen here?" And you're like, "Just don't move. Whatever happens, just don't move." Okay. So I said, "Okay."
The trust you had.
And then I was like, "Okay." Yeah. Well, I was curious too. I'm like, "Where's this gonna go?"
Right.
And then you put both your thumbs on my lips. Like a thumbs up, but the front of your thumbs on my lips, and then all of a sudden, I
kissed them.
Yeah. And I was like, "What are you doing?" And Ryan's like, "What are you doing?" You're like, "What? There's nothing weird about that." And you tried to gaslight me. And I was like, "What is going on?" And you're like, "You let me do it, man." I was like, "What the hell is that?" I just remember this warm air, and I'm like, "What the?" And I open my eyes.
And I'm like, but were my eyes open or closed?
I don't know, man. I don't remember. I just remember what happened to me.
Yeah.
That's about it.
But like, I didn't kiss you.
No, you should do that to your son.
That'd be funny.
He's going to get jealous after hearing that.
Yeah, you're a better dad to Pell than me.
You never kissed me like that.
You never kissed me. Yeah.
Can you try it for me?
What? Like
that?
Right now?
No.
I was like, I guess.
So I got
on camera. Can you try?
just for demonstration, just to show the people watching on video.
Just to show the viewers what I'm talking about.
No, like, can you try it on your son?
Yeah, I'll try.
Yeah, see what he says. How long will do you think he'll trust you to start with?
No, it'll be a fight instantly. Oh yeah, it'll be like, get away from me, Dad. Oh. Like, and he knows a little bit of jiu-jitsu, so like he can.
Oh, does he? Do you know any?
No, not really. But like,
you were almost gonna say.
I'm a sweet white belt.
Can you show me some right now?
I'll just bite your toe.
Just kiss your thumb. Tap, or I'll kiss you harder.
Yeah, look, we had them in level MMA for a couple years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like here?
Yeah, like in Winkler with Marcos.
Were you like living here? Then?
No. So like, they were for a little bit. Like when, so like, when I was working in God's Lake Narrows, and that whole pandemic got so bad.
Yep.
My family left because we couldn't fly. It was super difficult to fly out.
Yeah. Because
God's Lake Narrows is super remote, so and you can only fly in. So they actually came down south and they lived here for 6-7 months, and so that as like something to do, they went into jiu-jitsu.
Good for them.
Yeah,
that's wild. So like, I might have seen them and just never recognized them.
Probably not. It's like Kai, Riker, and Addison all like jiu-jitsu.
That's cool. Do they still do it at all?
Like, so this summer we didn't put them back into it because our schedule was kind of wild, but like they still roll.
Do they ever fight with each other? Like practice jiu-jitsu on each other?
Oh yeah. Like my daughter, she's like 3 inches shorter than me. So like, and my son, he's like, they're not very tall. So like, she twists them up pretty easily.
Okay.
But the boys, when they get going, they have a good time.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah. What do you like having better, son or daughter?
You're not allowed to have favorites as a
No,
father.
you don't. I'll cut this part out.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna cut this.
This is gonna be your highlight.
Yeah, I'll put this to the start of the video. That's sick.
Like you can cut and paste like different conversations.
Oh yeah.
You can like manipulate what I'm going to say.
Yeah, I could.
Ah.
But I won't.
Okay. That's crazy. You're like a geek.
I'm a geek?
A geek?
No, I know like the basics of editing. Like Zach, the guy that does in the office, he makes all the reels and stuff. He like actually.
So will Zach watch this all and be like, oh, that's a funny segment. I'm going to put this as the highlight reel, whatever?
Yeah. So basically what he does is I give him the podcast.
Okay.
And then he takes it, and I don't know if he watches the whole thing or not, but either way, he takes out like the funny parts. I don't know how he gets them, but I just get them back.
Okay.
Or he takes out the parts that are interesting. Like on the one with Tori, the Thick and Thin. Shout out Thick and Thin if you guys want to go watch
Thick
that.
and Thin. Yeah.
That one is more funny, so he's looking for funny clips out of that one.
Right.
This one, there's like usually some serious, some funny. So
Have we had any serious though?
I don't know. We can get into some serious stuff if you want to.
Okay, sorry.
We could get into
serious
some
funny. Okay.
We can get into some politics if you want.
No, we'll skip that.
So then he'll go through and like this one, he'll grab some serious or some funny, whatever's kind of like a mix of them.
Yeah.
And just interesting stuff that he can cut up and it's a little bit more catchy.
Okay, so right now we're making content, but we might not use all this content. Maybe like, oh, that conversation was kind of boring, and we'll just snip it out.
Well, no, like I won't cut anything from like anything other than like, let's say earlier on when we were like, hey, discussing a little bit about what we were going to talk about. I'll cut that out.
Okay.
But other than that, I'll just leave everything in.
Oh yeah.
Because I feel like it flows a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm an expert at this, but I feel like it flows a little better. And then he'll basically watch it and cut it out. If I think of if I remember anything that's super funny, like maybe one of our stories, then I'll say, hey, there's a story about this. It's about this far in. Can you cut up a reel out of that? And he'll, But that it's kind of nice because this, I mean, for me, when I started it, it was basically like I'm usually in here or working. And then I was like, oh, I don't have time to hang out with like friends or people a whole lot. So then all of a sudden I was like, well, why don't I just bring them to like work?
Right. Yeah.
And then we get content for Instagram, which works nice. It's like double purpose.
Yeah.
So then I just use people, for content.
But you paid for my meal.
Yeah, I did do that. But
so you didn't use me.
Well, yeah, I was like, I kind of wanted to hang out with you too, you know. So I was like, I hadn't seen you in like 5 years.
Probably more than that, actually.
Do you think it has been?
At least 7.
Yeah. And I was like I knew like when we had talked earlier, I was like, oh, it'd be interesting to have Dustin on the podcast because it'd be fun.
Yeah.
He probably got some good stories.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, cool, I'll ask him. And then the other side of me is like, well, I don't just want to ask him to be on the podcast and then have you sit here and be like, oh, this is just one content and that's it.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of an asshole move.
Right.
And that's not my intention. So it's like, you know, could pay for your food or go to eat or something.
That's fair. A nice date.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice date.
Yeah, it was nice. You told the waitress we were just gonna go back to my place.
We're just gonna hang out.
And I was like, I wanted to make a joke, and I'm like, just don't say anything. Just shut up.
Yeah, because we'll be investigated.
Yeah, you'h be investigated, which is fine. Yeah, you kind of looked like someone who was after your whiskey order. That was, yeah, so it works out nice. But and I actually enjoy like the different people I've had so far. Everyone's had different perspective or different thing to talk about, or a different topic, which I enjoy that part. Like it's not just content; it's actually I just enjoy it.
Yeah,
and I have the space, and I have
it's a
whatever time.
Space, huh?
Yeah, so it's worked out good, or it's been fun. I enjoy it. At first, I was trying to do like pump out like one every week, and then I realized like especially it's not like we're in a densely populated area.
Right, you run through friends quick.
You start running through everybody. And you're like, oh. okay, I maybe need to space these out. So now I just do it like when I'm like, oh, I have time, and this person's here, and we talked, and it worked out. So cool.
Right.
Yeah. Were you nervous? Like,
well, like
coming in here?
I just because you and I haven't talked for so long, I wasn't sure. Like, I suspected you'd be the same Pelly that I remember.
Am I similar?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and like just watching some of your reels and stuff. Like, because like obviously when you asked me to like to be on the podcast, I was like, okay, I gotta do some research. I gotta find out like what are your interests, what are the type of people you have on. Like, is he chill? Like, so like you said, like there's some serious people and like there's some like more like comedians or like you're like more chilled. So like I was like, okay, sweet. Like I think I could fit into this.
Yeah.
So then I wasn't as nervous, but like yeah, initially I was like, oh man, I've never thought about being like not interviewed, but I never really thought about like having my just sitting and chatting with a mic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think too, like what do you think now? Like after you've sat here and done this for a little bit.
Well, like you forget that you're being recorded.
Yeah, it's like the first 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
That's what I like. That's what I tell people when they're
I'm very aware that the mic's in my face.
Yeah.
But like you just forget.
Yeah, I think too. Like the first few times, and maybe this will happen to you, maybe it won't. It's like you walk away and you almost have like, I don't know. Someone told me what this is called, but it's like where you feel like you overshared.
Okay.
And you walk away and you're like anxious.
Right.
And people I think sometimes feel that.
Oh.
And then you listen back to it and you're like, oh, it's not that bad.
Right.
I try not to listen back to them because between this one and then the other one, it's like I can only hear the sound of my own voice so much.
Right.
And
okay, so when you like upload it, you just forget about this time? Like you don't go back and be like, oh man, I want to hear this part again.
there's certain parts I will.
Okay.
Yeah, there's certain like interesting pieces of conversation. I was like, oh, I wonder. Like, I feel like I said this. I wonder what my response to that was. Or this person had said this. What did they say again? And I'll, like, re-listen to it. And then, like, especially if it's interesting to me, then I'll go re-listen to that. But I won't listen to the whole thing back.
Okay.
Like, start to finish.
Like, you won't, like, drive to Winnipeg and hit start on this conversation?
Probably not. This one, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, this one's
This one's been, like, a memory lane.
Yeah, and too, when I had asked you, I was like, thinking in my head, at first I was just going to ask to, like, if you wanted to hang out when you, like, kind of came back to town, and I was like, dang. Because sometimes you're really serious, like, really intense. Well, you're always really intense, but it's either intensely serious or intensely, like, I don't know, humorous? I don't know if humorous is the right thing.
Right.
But you there's usually something going on. So I'm like, oh, this would be great to sit down and just, like, the same stories that we'd tell anyways.
Yeah.
Just have a mic in and record them.
Yeah, because now, like, because if you said you tell this story all the time, now you'd be like, okay, see, this actually did
This is
happen.
the guy. This is the guy I'm talking about.
Yeah, this is the ghost.
Yeah, so then if I tell a story like, hey, I worked with this guy and he almost pushed me out of a second story window, and they're like, I don't know this guy.
Right.
I can go back to the tape and say,
Right,
hey,
this is the guy.
This is the YouTube channel. Check it out. Subscribe, like, comment, share with your friends, and also find him
Right.
and ruin his life.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's what you would want.
No.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm going to put in this thing. Ruin his life. Yeah, so that was my thing. It's been, it's good though.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
It's a sweet little gig.
Yeah.
Are you reading any books?
Am I reading? I don't know how to read.
Oh.
I actually haven't read a book. I've listened to audiobooks.
Okay.
Do you want me to look up my recent audiobooks?
Yeah, man.
Have you been reading?
Oh, what are you watching?
Nothing.
Sounded inappropriate.
No.
Okay. Yeah, like I try to read. I try to read like a book a year, like
Easy.
Yeah, right. I know.
Whoa.
I have really bad ADHD, so like I'll pick up a book, I'll read like 4 pages, and then I'll do something else. My mind will squirrel. And I'll be like, okay, I'm no longer grasping what I'm reading, so then I'll go do something else.
Oh yeah.
So it takes me a long time to read a book. Like I don't have the ability to just like focus and just dive in.
Do you ever fall asleep while you read?
Yeah, like I don't know if I'll fall asleep, but I'll of a sudden realize I read the same line three times in a row. I'm like, okay, it's time to close her up.
Yeah. like it always puts me to sleep. So I'll be reading and all of a sudden I'll just like conk out.
Like you're probably reading like How to Have a Bigger Bicep.
No, I'll read you my recent books.
A Walk to Remember.
Oh dear, here we go. Oh, these are such dude books. Okay, The Perfect Day Formula. That's that one. Or I'm listening to these. These are the audiobooks.
Perfect Day. So that's like a self-help or whatever.
Yeah, it's like a
Okay,
self-development. So it's like about like kind of doing things that set your day up to be better rather than just wasting your time. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Man Up.
Oh, sweet.
By Bedros Keuilian. That's a really good book. If you haven't listened or read that one, it's actually really good. He's a business owner guy. And the Never Finished David Goggins book, like his newer one.
Yeah.
Here we go. I listened to the Tom Segura book, The Comedian. I don't know if you know who he is.
Sure.
I think The Obstacle is the Way. That one's like about like stoicism and like.
So you're like these books. You're very much about like self-awareness and just like
it's usually
bettering yourself, like something that
or like business,
right?
Like there's I had read this one. But now I listened to it. I guess I haven't done it. It's 0 to 1, and it's about one of the guys who made PayPal. One of those guys. He just talks about the processes they used and how they got to it, and the mistakes they made, and how to take how he took like a regular business, or they took it and built it up. Yeah. I believe that's the PayPal one, but it's usually about business or something like that. Like I can't do books that are about like made up stuff.
Okay. Right.
I don't know why.
So you're not listening to an action adventure. You're listening to something that's like.
Yeah, like I can't. I think in my head, I'm just like, why am I listening to this then?
Okay. Yeah.
Which is, I don't know if maybe that's a little psycho, but
I don't think so.
Like, can you listen, or can you read is it fiction or nonfiction? I forget which one is which.
I'll watch a movie about it, but I won't read a book about it. I won't be like, oh, I want to read The Hobbit.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah. That's my thing. I wouldn't get anything from it. Like I would feel like I'm wasting my time. And maybe you're not supposed to. Maybe that's the point. You're not supposed to get anything from it. But did you read or did you listen to the first David Goggins book? Because I feel like that. Because back in the day, we all read Lone Survivor. The whole work crew did.
Yeah.
And that was a good book.
That was a sweet book.
But I feel like that first David Goggins book, it was really good. I feel like that one would be.
Like right now, I'm reading a book by Mike Glover. Mike Glover is like ex-Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
He's so I'm reading Prepared, and it's like just being about like being prepared for like an everyday scenario, like not like just kind of like being intentional with. Okay, so you're going out on you're going to the mall.
Yep. What's
your footwear? Are you wearing sandals? Okay, are you gonna get fatigued because you're likely gonna be walking a couple miles and. So are you gonna develop a blister kind of thing like this? So in this book, he kind of talks about like, all right, if you're going out and you get to the mall and all of a sudden there's like an earthquake or an active shooter, what's the go-to?
Yeah.
So it's like just being aware of your surroundings because so many times you walk in public and you see people glued to their phones or looking down.
Yeah.
Like literally, somebody could be crazy in front of them. And they would have no idea. They'd just be oblivious to what's happening around them. So it's just more being like not being like crazy and like or over paranoid, but just kind of just like scanning what's going on around you.
Which I feel like is probably a good thing just in terms of being a human being too.
Yeah, exactly.
Like not even in the sense of protection even or whatever. It's like just observe where you are.
Right.
Does it talk about in that book too, like things like, hey, when you're like, let's say you're walking with your wife and kids, you walk to the roadside and they walk to the inside of the sidewalk.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Things like this.
Yeah. In my head too, like even just, you think about it and you're like with the nieces and stuff, it's like keep the nieces in, or with Nikki, I'm like, okay, I walk to the roadside, you walk to this,
right.
Because I'm thinking about it, so you don't have to, kind of thing.
Exactly.
So I feel like that's, as a guy,
right.
That's your responsibility.
That's our role. Exactly.
Yeah.
Protect.
Yeah, which, I mean, I've gotten a little criticism for stuff like that, but it's like, I feel like that's good. What's the book called? Do you know?
Prepared. Prepared.
It's a very appropriately named book.
Yeah. And like he talks too about like the opening remarks is by Mike Carr. Mike Carr is the author of like Terminal List.
Yeah.
So he writes a foreword about it, and he just talks about like how we rely on like just basic like police are available.
Yeah.
Well, police are 10 minutes away when seconds count. EMS.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna call and they're coming from Winkler. So how long does it take to fly to Morden if right now something happened like the roof collapsed for whatever reason?
Yeah.
So like just being kind of prepared of like for just like self-preservation. So like it's a really good read, just kind of just saying like, okay, like all right, like what if something went down right now, how can we be prepared for that scenario?
Yeah, and I feel like it's that one step.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's one step. Like I think people think like when they kind of critical stuff like that, they're like, well, don't be paranoid.
Right.
But it's like it's not really that much extra work.
No.
It's like one extra step. That's
Right.
it.
Yeah.
And if anything too, like you think like back to the like just being aware of your surroundings and being like, hey, what's going on? Don't look down at my phone while I'm walking here.
Right.
Not only are you just prepared for something to happen, like just if something does happen, you're prepared for, but you're also observing where you are. Like there could be something cool going on.
Right.
And you're not missing out on it because you're looking at your phone or, something like that.
Yeah.
Or you're not tripping and slamming your face into the concrete.
Yeah.
Breaking a hip because you're getting old.
Yeah, I am. It's getting up there. Yeah, and like exactly, just everyday things. It's not like you're not like preparing yourself for like an active shooter always, but you're just being like aware, like okay, like if something breaks out, where's my nearest exit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think like from my perspective, not only do I think it's a little bit too of like as a guy your responsibility because you do have certain skills that are like you're probably stronger than
exactly
or want to be stronger than most women and stuff like that, or maybe even most people in a crowded room or something like that.
Right.
And there's a part too, at least for me, I think for you too, like where you're like, hey, I want people to be able to rely on me. Mm-hmm. Like if something does happen here, like when you're working security, it's like, hey, I'm taking
leader.
Yeah, I'm taking on the role of this, so I'm going to play that role too. I'm gonna just assume that responsibility because I want that responsibility.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, some people take that for granted, even for the, it's taken for granted until it needs to happen.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, well, the police are 10 minutes away. Oh man, it'd be handy if someone was here who had, just some level of ability to deal with this.
Right. And so many times, like if there's an argument, you don't need to use physical force to de-escalate a argument. You can just simple words. It's just like, it's understanding who you're talking to and having a conversation. It's not like, okay, I need the police here to arrest this guy. It's like, because he's being violent. Well, I can either remove myself from the situation or I can just talk him down and give him some space, show him my hands, like make him, calm him down, and help him understand that this is...
Yeah. Like understanding. Yeah. And I feel like, again, it's like it has such a like what's the downside of it?
Right.
Where it's got such a multi-level purpose of like, okay, this not only can you de-escalate a situation, but you also understand body language.
Right.
And you also understand how to communicate with somebody that maybe it's not a situation that you need to de-escalate. Maybe you're just trying to get a hotel room at a hotel that's fully booked. And you're like, hey, I need to get to this point. I know it's more likely if I can communicate this way and keep my emotions at bay.
Right.
It's late at night. I have my family here. Maybe I can convince them that they have an open, like I can find out if they have an open room.
Right.
Something like that. But you're just using that skill that prepared you for a bad situation to improve your situation in something that isn't necessarily bad
100%,
yet.
Exactly.
That's sweet. All right, how far are you through it?
Oh, I've actually restarted it twice because it'd probably been a couple of weeks. I'd open it, read a bunch of pages, and then I'd close it, and then I wouldn't pick it up for a couple of weeks. I'm like, I don't remember what I was read about. So I think I've restarted it twice now, but I'm probably halfway through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's good though.
Yeah,
Sounds
it's
like
super
it's good.
Like it's like just talking about even like just basic things like if there's a fire in your house, what's your fire plan? Do you have a fire extinguisher?
Dude, my dad, he used to he used to make us practice the fire drill in the house.
Right.
Where you guys, where's your exits, different things like that. I remember as a kid, I mean, it was the greatest, but it was also like, is he gonna burn down the house? Like, what is going on here?
Right.
And he's like, if the house lights on fire, where are you guys going?
Yeah.
Okay, you can't get through your door. Where do you go? Like just knowing, hey, there's a window, go at the window. And as a kid, you're like, oh, this is kind of fun or whatever, or it's kind of annoying, whatever it is. But you think as a parent, you're like, hey, if I can't get them out, I want to know they can get themselves out.
Right. They're not just going to bang at a window and like, that's it.
Yeah. Dang, that's cool. So do you tend to go towards, like, what kind of books? Is it books like that you tend to go towards?
Yeah, like I've read like Lone Survivor, the American Sniper. What else did I read? Prepared. I've also reading like this Wild at Heart, just how to raise boys.
Yeah. I actually have that in my. I think it's down. Yeah,
good read, and like it's great because like it just they're wild creatures, and like it's sweet, and so many times like we want to like just stifle that wildness. So it's like just teaching like you like as a leader or as a parent, teaching you like, no, that boy, he needs that wildness.
Yeah.
So like I read too that at some point you need that boy, you need your sons to make you bleed. So like getting a little wrestling time and let him just sock you in the face and show that, oh, look, I beat Alpha.
Yeah.
Now you've given them some courage to say like, all right, my dad is the beast, and I just made him bleed.
Well, 100% agree, and that's been one thing kind of as I've gotten older that's been really frustrating. Like for me, it seems like sometimes that stuff is kind of getting like you're not supposed to do any of it,
right?
And it's like, hey, but like I see value in it. I've seen value in it in different areas of my life, and I think about different situations where I'm like, oh, I wish like these different things happen, or I look at it and I'm like, no, that is what I feel called to do. I think that book even touches on that a little bit, like that calling.
Yeah.
Like that wild at heart. Like, hey, like as a guy, you're kind of called into this position a little bit, or these are natural things. And it seems like sometimes, like even thinking about the preparedness, like, walking on that side, it's like you feel that responsibility, and sometimes you're like, no, that's crazy, don't do that. Like you're kind of told to do that a little bit, or it's weird to do that. And then you read books like that, or you hear these different things. You're like, oh, that is like, it's not a bad thing that I'm doing that. It's not an odd thing. For me, especially growing up, it was like that stuff wasn't shown a ton, but you could kind of feel it. You're like, oh, I feel like this is it, but I don't know if I should do it. Maybe someone's going to think I'm weird for doing this and that. And as I've gotten older, I've gotten more comfortable with it. But that's one thing too, like when we went for supper, we kind of talked about that. That was one thing that I actually got from you quite a bit, because I was telling you at supper, I'm like, I grew up with two sisters. So to go into the environment of this construction world, which it wasn't the most rough construction crew, despite the stories, it was actually quite a bit of fun. And for me, it was almost like I got a little bit of that without knowing that that's what I wanted. It was like, okay, this guy's older than me, and he's willing to let me challenge him. He's not going to let me get away with it, but he's willing to let me challenge him.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this is like, it was relieving, because you're like, hey, I can be mad. And I can be mad at him, or I can be frustrated, or I can joke, and he's going to take it, but he's going to give it back.
Right.
But it's not going to be a big deal.
Right.
You're going to move on. You're going to be able to go back and forth on it. Yeah. And like you said, like almost the let you bleed kind of thing. And it was almost in a sense too, I remember feeling that way. And it was the first introduction of, oh, someone else can make you bleed too. Like you can make them bleed, but they're going to give it back to you, and you have to work that out now. Yeah. And it's not always, their intent isn't always malicious. Like it's just like, it's like two, I know it sounds lame, but like it's a little bit primitive in the way of like you're butting heads, seeing where you kind of fit in, and then you separate and you go on and you move on with your time, and then not even in an angry way, just almost that play fighting kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's like learning how to be like, letting it go, like just being like, all right, yeah, that was a hard conversation, but yeah, we're still friends.
Yeah. Or even in the sense of like, this is happening and it's not because I dislike you.
Right.
And this is happening and it's not because you dislike me.
Yeah.
This is happening because I need to check where I'm at in this like totem pole, see if I can challenge like the, you know, for me being a younger guy at that time, it was like, oh, can I challenge this guy? See if I can get the upper hand now, see where I am on the totem pole. And then you get reminded, you're like, you're not quite there yet. And then you kind of get exposed a little bit and you're like, you get choked out on a driveway because you were being a little lippy earlier in the day.
Right.
And you're like, you know, if I don't want to get, I know it sounds crazy, but it's like, okay, I don't want to get choked out. So I got to figure out how I can work my way around this. Okay. Can I get stronger? Okay. Can I get better at fighting? Okay. Can I just get smarter with my words? What do I have to do to work my way out? It kind of challenges you in that way where I feel like where you have that.
Yeah.
For me, I never really had that growing up a ton. So it's been guys like you who have had to, or who you guys have, I feel like guys like you have almost allowed me to go through that.
Okay.
Because I feel like there's definitely times where I've tried to do that. It hasn't been reciprocated quite the same. It's been like, can you fuck off? And then you realize maybe it is happening in a different way, but I feel like that's the way you talk like with your son. Would that be similar?
Oh yeah.
Of like just kind of letting him figure out,
Yeah.
okay, where do I sit on this thing?
Yeah. And like, I'll have arguments or we'll have things where like, I'll let him walk away with him going, okay, my words, actually, I backed Dad down. So like, I was really bad at letting emotion get into my conversation. So now I'm really teaching him like, all right, like, check the emotion, man. Just this is just facts.
Yeah.
So then now he's learning like, okay, I can share the facts. We don't need to raise our voice. We don't need to like name call, because as soon as you start name calling, the conversation's over. So like it's just like, all right, being intentional. What do you want to say here? And then he explained to me, okay, Dad, this is what's up. And I go, all right, cool. I got you. Or I understand where you're coming from, and that's it. And then he goes, oh, I actually won this conversation.
Yeah. Is that tough? Like as a parent, I've oftentimes wondered this too. Like, do your kids ever say something to you, or kids in general? Maybe they're not even yours, but because I'm sure you're around other kids too. But do they ever say something that they're right and you're wrong, and you're like, shit? Like, is that tricky?
Like, you gotta suck the ego. But like, and like my son, my middle son, he's smart. So like, he gets it quicker. So like when he's right, it's like, all right, bro fist, bud.
You got me here.
You got me.
He probably respects that too. Right?
I think so. I hope so. And I think that is again teaching him like, okay, like I used just facts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
that's cool.
Yeah.
Where do you like what inspires you to do that? Like in terms of even reading the book or allowing him to do that stuff?
Like just trying to be like, so many times I've had so many conversations with people where I've lost in so many different ways. So like, and just not really listening. So like me just trying to like you searching for that better way to make me better. Like, like I kind of said that poorly, but like just a better way of, or a more efficient way of being a better human.
Yeah, like trying to improve more efficiently and less painfully kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so it's more of like just the self-awareness, or like just more like understanding who I am and how I can help.
Yeah. Like, do you find, for me, I found, despite the podcast and the YouTube and all that stuff, but it's like talking less for me as I've gotten older has like helped me more, like saying something, but like what you said, like almost be intentional.
Yeah.
So then if you do get a response that's not quite what you like, at least it's like, it's likely to be more intentional.
Right.
Rather than just like spewing off a bunch of whatever.
Yeah.
Like obviously in like a more serious conversation. And then, or even if it's an opinion, like just kind of waiting, seeing, listening, observing, processing, and then giving something.
Right.
In those types of conversations where then usually your response that you're giving back is like a little bit more valuable.
Right.
And I found like so much, like maybe more so in the last few years, I regret way more saying something intentionally and being wrong and being corrected than I do someone saying something kind of not thinking about it, giving my opinion, just kind of spewing it off, and then all of a sudden, like 3 years later, realizing I was wrong.
Yeah.
And thinking, man, that person I said that to, in the way I said it to them, I'm such a dumbass. Like, I embarrassed myself like crazy in that. Man, did I put my foot in my mouth.
Yeah.
Because I just wasn't even thinking about what I was arguing.
Right.
Or you were name calling, like you said. You're just like saying shit because you're emotional about it. And you're like, and then they're like, okay, I'm not willing to have this fight. They're probably the more mature one. They're like, conversation's over.
Yeah.
You're name calling. I'm moving on. Yeah. And then you hold on to that until whatever, 10 years down the road, and you look back and you're like, fuck. I'm a dumbass. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so much of conversation too is like listening. It's like really like, okay, what did Pell just say?
Yeah. Yeah. Have you like, do you feel like you've developed that more so in like a certain area of your, or a certain period in your life?
Oh, 100%. Like, and just like, even as my kids get older, where now it's not just like gaga goo goo dad. It's actually like, hey dad, what do you think about this? And it's like, okay, like actually I don't know. I'm going to learn. I'm going to find out about this topic. And then I'll be like, hey, this is what I think about this. So like, yeah. And then just as like, throughout my career, just really, it's like learning how to communicate with different people and like, and people in different walks. Cause like some of the people I converse with, it is their worst day. So they're trying to explain to me like how, someone that they've loved or trusted has seriously hurt them. And so I got to get their side of the story. But as you know, there's two sides to every story. So now I got to go, and after listening to this person's story, and like after they're like telling me how hurt they are and whatever, and now I got to go back and talk to the person who was the aggressor and treat them the same. So like, and again, leave an emotion out of it, which has gotten easier and easier as I like get more experience with it. But like sometimes when you hear someone's story about like how like hurt they are by this person, yeah, you get emotional because you're like, how could you do this? How could someone be so mean?
Yeah. Do you ever find that you're like, I mean, there's the, like, do you ever find that like the person that reacted in a way that ultimately is like can be punished, let's say, do you ever find like there's that person and then there's also the person you're like, oh, but I understand why they did that.
Yeah.
Is that ever a thing?
Oh,
like, and you're like,
100%.
oh, like, yeah, I can't let this fly, but man, I wish I could, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and so many times it's just having that conversation. So like, just people don't know how to have a healthy conversation. So they talk themselves into a corner where now they find themselves in a situation that they've talked themselves into, but they're getting smacked around or whatever.
Yeah, they're either going to get overly emotional or overly physical kind of thing. Like, whatever their response is going to be overcompensated in some way. Yeah. Dang. Yeah, that's, man, I wish, I don't know. I'm sure you're the same way. I wish I'd learned more when I was like younger.
I know,
and I wish I could go back and tell myself, even like just the ego thing of like, just let it go. Like,
right.
Like, what are you doing? Yeah. Why are you wasting your time with this? Yeah. Or just shut up for a second. Yeah. But that's also one thing too. Like, and maybe I should ask you about this, because like I was saying before, like my perception of you in terms of like personality is intense. Like if I was to sum Dustin and how I know Dustin, it's intensity. Yeah. Like whatever it is, it's intensity. And even that, I mean that in the way of like intensely fun, intensely like physical in terms of like different interactions and stuff like that. But also I do remember there was times where I was quite a bit surprised, where I was very intense in terms of listening or in terms of a discussion.
Okay.
Like I remember one time specifically, despite all the funny stories, I remember one time saying a story to you, and you were intensely serious, and you'd said, "Yeah, don't give that thought." And I was like, "What?" And I was like, "I'm just joking or whatever." Like I don't even know if I was joking. I think I was just saying something, and you said, "Yeah, don't give that thought." I was like, "What? Why is he saying it like that?" And then you had elaborated. You said, "Hey, if you give that too much thought, if you continue down that's going to lead you here.
Yeah.
And you don't want to go there. So recognize that's there, and then give the other thing the thought."
Right.
And I remember that was the first time I was like, in my head, I'm like, oh, Dustin's not like, he's not having fun, right? Like this isn't not fun. He's being serious. Like this is something like, and that stuck with me. Like in terms of like, let's say it's a bad day. Like sometimes I'll even think, I'm like, don't give that, like that moment in your day that you can't do anything about.
Yeah.
Don't give it thought. Or let's say someone pissed you off, and it's not that big of a deal, but it's really pissing you off and you want to get back at it. It's like, don't give it thought, because if you continue to give it thought, it's going to turn into something that's more than it is. It's going to ruin your day, and it's a one step in a direction that now is going to be easier to go to next time, and maybe you take it another step next time.
Yeah.
Till all of a sudden you're fine. And I remember that. Do you find yourself that way? Like, what's your perception of, like, when I say that, what's your perception?
Yeah, yeah, exactly how I believe that I communicated that with you. But, like...
Do you remember that conversation at all?
I don't. But, like, I know that you and I have had some serious conversations, just, like you and I were going through different stages, walks of life. But, like, I feel like you and I were very similar, like... And I don't remember that exactly, but no way. It's yeah, just being like learning to let things go.
Mm-hmm.
And like me saying that still, like as soon as I say that, there's like 14 like topics that come in my mind where I'm like, I'm still like, no, I'm not letting that go. But like, and like, yeah, there's always room for improvement.
Yeah. And it's like, the thing of a lesson learned doesn't mean you don't make the mistake.
Right.
Like,
yeah. Exactly.
It's like, don't lie. Well, you're probably still going to lie at some point. You're gonna like, bang, and then walk away. Shit. But you can still tell somebody, hey, it's probably not going to be good if you tell someone you did this, but you didn't do it. Or you know what I mean? Yeah. You didn't live up to the expectation they have for you, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I got a ton of value from that. And that, too, even in the intensity side of things, I was never, again, growing up with like sisters and a mom and stuff like that, it was like the aggressive or intense side. I was never really allowed to expose it, because one thing that got stressed in our house was like, you never hit a girl. That was the rule. Yeah. No matter what your sisters did to you, you never hit them. Right. So I was a lot of times like just cornered. I remember going in my room once and I couldn't do anything. So I ripped the doors off my cabinet or my cupboard where my clothes were. Yeah. I ripped the doors off, and because I was aggressive. I was like, I don't know what else to do with this energy, and I'm mad, but I can't hit my sisters. Right. Because they're girls. You just don't do it. So my mom came into my room and she looked and she's like, "What happened to your dresser?" And I'm like, it kind of explained a little bit. And she's like, "Okay." And I'm like, kind of asked, I think I maybe asked, like, so what happens next kind of thing. And she's like, you just don't have dresser doors now. Right, yeah. She kind of let it slide. But it was also one of those things where you kind of felt confined. Yeah. And there was outlets. Like, for me, I had the gym and I had these different places. Mm-hmm. But I was never felt okay to, like, in those places where you're supposed to be aggressive or supposed to have some intensity. It was always, like, that little bit of a buffer. Because I'm like, I don't know if this is okay. And then being in that environment, I was like, oh, no, there is places where you can express this intensity. And it's okay to. And if someone, isn't on board with it, they can always walk away or whatever. It's just the environment is set up for that a little bit more. Yeah. Or there's people in that environment that you can trust with that a little bit more, that was also very nice for me. Yeah. Because it probably kept me out of a bit of trouble, I'm sure, too. Man,
for sure.
Yeah, because I wasn't working security at the bar. Yeah. Did you feel like with that intensity and stuff like that, did you feel like that was where you could let it go? Or did you even think, like, is that just so much your personality?
I don't know that I had, like, I had a specific feeling about it. It was just like, all right, like we did do good work. Like we built great structures and stuff.
Yeah.
But we always were goofing around. Like always, someone seemed to always being like,
well, a lot of the
sort
times
shenanigans, and like, yeah, there was just like the way of life. I don't know that it was like specific to.
Yeah, and a lot of times I feel like it was like it began from someone not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, dumbass, like, what are you doing? Like, we got to get this done.
Right.
Like, hurry up, get it done. And then there's a little bit back and forth, and then the intensity was on the work, and it was like, no, this is going to come up when this is done. This is going to get sorted out somehow.
Right.
And then it was like, okay, that's the time. But I feel like it was like a checking quite a bit, which was good. Yeah. And that was too for me the first time I kind of got checked in terms of like in a way that wasn't punishment.
Okay.
Like I do remember one day you came and talked to me and another worker about maybe slacking off a little bit.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I think it was a little bit of miscommunication. I got a nice excuse for that one.
Okay.
But that was the first day it was kind of communicated a little bit more directly.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it was like, oh, it doesn't always have to be like a punishment. It doesn't always have to be like, it can be a little bit of like this back and forth. And at the end of the day, get the job done. Take responsibility, move on, get the job done, and deal with the other stuff later kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny. While we were saying that, I've had a thought. Oh, man. Like, you're talking about your sisters. Mm-hmm. And like I loved your Choppy stories. Like you and Choppy were just like, you'd be like, man, Choppy today she like drank all my milk, or like, oh no. I remember you were eating like breakfast.
Yeah.
And then you were like, yo, that's my milk, and she went to the sink and just like looked at it. I think she dumped it.
She dumped it right in front of me, man. She
was funny, man.
I was like, that's my milk. And then she's like, oh, okay, cool. And she just dumped it down the sink. Because I think it was at the age where we were supposed to like we're living at home, but we're kind of like supposed to be moved
separate,
out.
Right.
Yeah. So it was like, you bought your own groceries.
Right.
And she's just like, fuck you, dude. Yeah. You want to be like that? Like I wouldn't let her drink my milk kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh man. I remember one day one thing she did is I would wake up. And I'm learning, like, this was more of, like, me keeping the peace thing. Like, I would wake up really early in the mornings.
Like what's early?
Like, at that time, it was probably, like, 5:30.
Oh, my.
Like, it'd be, like, I'd be up, and I'd be, oh, I want everybody to have a good day. Because a lot of times in our house, it was stressful. Like, my mom's working really hard. Yeah. My sisters, everyone's trying to figure out what they're supposed to be doing or who they are kind of thing. And I'd be like, okay, I want everybody to have a good day. So I'd walk to Tim Hortons. I'd get muffins.
Yeah.
I'd get like a half dozen or a dozen muffins.
And that would be a couple blocks for you.
Yeah, it was a few. It wasn't terrible, though. But I'd go pick them up and I'd come home and I'd be like, oh, everyone's going to get muffins. No one said shit ever.
But was expected. Like, Choppy's like, where's my muffin?
She would go to the muffins and take a bite because I would get different flavors.
Never.
She'd take a bite out of every one. Just one bite. And then she'd be like, and then I'd be like, what the hell? Like, you took a bite out. No one wants, like, a bitten muffin.
No.
And she's like, it's fine. You can still eat it.
Yeah.
Like, are you freaking serious? I forgot, because we would have been living together when I was at H2 still, eh?
Yeah.
Dang. Do you remember the 3rd Street house I lived in?
3rd Street house?
Like, I lived in that little house with no AC for a while.
All I remember is the big one by, like, Birchwood or whatever.
Yeah, that was my mom's. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. No.
But I rented a little house.
Right.
I don't
have any specific memories, but I remember you moving out.
And then that was the house too. Like when we went to Estevan, to Saskatchewan, the heater got stuck on. Like full blast. So I came back home and it was like 60 degrees in the house.
Oh, man.
And I just left all the doors and windows open. I was like, it was running all weekend.
Oh.
And I texted my landlord, or I called him or whatever. And I said, hey, I think the heater's broken. He's like, okay, I'll get checked out. Yeah, heater, something tripped or whatever. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, is there anything for the hydro bill then this month? Because I had to pay the hydro bill. He's like, you'd have to talk to Hydro about that. And at that time, I was too young to kind of figure that out. I was like, oh, okay. And then I thought to myself, like, the day later, I'm like, what the fuck is Hydro going to care about if my heater got stuck on?
Yeah, right.
Like, I guess it was like a $600 heating bill, dude. Yeah.
Oh, man. Brutal, bud.
And I had, like, no money at that time. Yeah. I'm like, on my own. I'm like, I guess I just got to pay it. Good times, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
What happens if I have to take a bathroom break? I got to pee.
Well, do you want to keep going or you want to call it here?
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, if you feel you got what you needed.
Well, yeah, I'm good. If you're good.
Yeah, cool.
Cool. Well, do you want to shout anything out? I always kind of give everybody that opportunity. Yeah. Like anybody, if you're doing anything cool or you want
maybe one for my homies.
Oh, I forgot about that. Pour one out for my. Who are your homies? Can I quickly ask?
I don't know. It was just something I did because like I always like when we drank out of those thermoses, dirt always got in there. Yeah. So I wanted like to say something
for
funny.
My homies.
Yeah, just pour the water on the ground for the homies.
Yeah, don't pour it on my carpet, please. I'll lay on the floor and you can pour it on me. Yeah. Do you want me to like put your social media account in here or anything like that?
I mean, I don't know if people want or care.
Okay. Well, if you guys are doing a construction project, you guys can go find Dustin and he'll help you out. Just contact him and get hooked up. No, but seriously, this was awesome, man.
Yeah, it was a fun time.
Next time you're in town, we're going to do it again.
Yeah, you think so?
Heck yeah.
Do you think I'm smart enough?
Why not?
Okay.
You know what's going on now, so it'll be even better the second time. Like the one, like Seth was the first one on here.
Okay.
The second one I feel like was way better.
Okay.
Like this one was good.
Yeah.
And the audio is way better now. Yeah. But the second time it was just like right into it, just comfortable and everything. Yeah. So I feel like when you come back, we'll do it again, and you'll be like, okay, this one, first one was better, or this one was better. Yeah. If you want to do it again,
absolutely, I'm down.
I'll just be super. If you feel
if we got like 2 views, I'll be like, I'll probably just chill.
Oh, dude, you don't look at the views.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Oh,
you just pump it out.
Okay.
Yeah, some things do good and some things do okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. But thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
Any final words for the people? Motivational speech?
Oh, man. I don't got nothing.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for coming on, Dustin. And catch you guys in the next episode of What the Pell.
What the Pell. Oh.